Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Olalekan Oshinkoya, and this is Charging Dog. Our guest today is Precious Ebere, a renowned development practitioner, a policy analyst with specific interest in edtech, education, democracy, corruption, human rights and governance, and also leadership development. And then she's been bridging the gap of inequality within the African democratic system. So I will also like give her an opportunity to introduce herself to our audience. So Precious, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and then thank you for taking that time to come on the show.
Thank you.
Could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me for this interesting conversation. My name is Precious Ebere, and I run Do. Do is a civic startup on a mission to inspire the next 1 billion plus people across Africa to take actions on issues they care about. I could call myself a social entrepreneur and, well, a development practitioner as well in this space. And the reason why I would say that is the approach as to how we solve problems in the society, it's quite different. We see it from a different lens and actually act upon them and inspire other people to do the same thing as well. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's
Bit
very.
about me.
I like that. I mean, you try to be humble. I know that there's a whole lot more about you. I mean, because the whole thing about I'm personally interested in your story, in your journey, because I know that for someone like you, I know that you don't have to be in Nigeria. I know that at least you started your journey here and you went overseas to get studies. You could have just decided to go back, to not come back, but you've always been consistent about the whole idea of working with grassroots within the grassroots. You're just very much like, oh, I'm all about doing this great work, but at the very lowest level possible. Because that's where the impact is. So I'm particularly excited to see that. So um, I always start my conversation on this show with one question, and then the question is because I know that, like I was just saying a moment ago, you didn't just get here and start. Oh,
Yeah.
do take action. People will see all the wonderful work that the organization is doing, but I'm like, okay, it's a woman that founded it, and why? What's the story? So I always ask this question: what's your social impact story? So why do take action? Why not Precious Ebere, the banker, or Precious Ebere, a lawyer? Or, why development?
Okay.
So yeah.
One interesting thing is I've never told this part of the story. Growing up, I actually wanted to become a neurosurgeon.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. But several things cut across the journey, and I'm here today. And one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing is because one, I saw a problem in my community. Growing up, my mom had a school, and in that school, I saw that kids do not really get the kind of education every child needs to have. And with my inquisitive mind, I started thinking of how can I bridge that gap? How can I ensure kids in this rural community get access to quality education? What does quality education mean to me? And then I started doing my research. I was in school at the time. So while I was doing my research and my studies, I was just caught up with too many informations. And I told myself the best way to start solving problems is to just start doing. And I had to go to an orphanage home and taught them how to learn computer, how to use music to create different acts and the rest of them. And those kids were very excited to that new discovery. And I felt, well, this little thing I did just created an impact in the life of these children. So how can I create better impact at scale? So I started with what I was doing. I was going around to schools, training children, started from my mom's schools as well. I introduced computer science in the school and different learning acts for these children. I saw that the learning pattern for these children changed, right? And while I saw some changes, it actually gave me more part at the back to do more in different communities. And that was how I started. And at the time, it was called James Initiative, you know. But then, while I was doing all of these actions, I thought to myself, right, that is this all impact is, right? Now, if this is impact, how can I scale? Now, this is where the evolution came about. Do take action. So I and my co-founder, Century, right, had a conversation, and we started asking ourselves some critical question, right? What does impact means? How can we inspire people to take action? And then we came up with a critical question that if we inspire or if we build a critical mass of people doing the right thing, right, what change would this cause in the communities, right? Now, this is Nigeria we're talking about. Beyond Nigeria, Africa, what change would it cost? So beyond all of those little activities I was doing, I knew I was causing change. At that time when it was James Initiative, we got partnership with Google Nigeria, other civic startup that came to support our work, and including the National Ministry of Women Affairs was also part of the whole James Initiative project and programs. But then I saw the whole upload, but that was not really all about to causing impact for me, right? Then that was where I had a critical conversation with my today co-founder, which is Century, and when we had a meeting together, we said asking ourselves some critical questions, right? How can we affect the behaviors of young people? How can we inspire them to cause change in communities? How can we scale up impact, right? How do we build a critical mass of people taking action? Now, in having all of those conversations, came about, do we had to
The brand,
reinvent
yeah,
or
the brand, maybe.
rebrand, and we came up with that word do, right? Do take action. So do is more of a critical understanding about social change, impact, and communities as well.
So you started with gems. You took action as an individual. How did you incorporate that, or how do you talking about a co-founder? What has this person always been part of this organization before, or did you end up by the time you're now trying to scale and improve impact in a different way, and then you brought this person on board, or you kind of like just your path crossed and you felt like you're trying to do the same thing, and then there you go, you're able to now continue to do.
So the interesting thing is that my co-founder has been there every step of the way, right? When it was James, he saw the vision, right? But he wanted to see what I could build out of that, right? So he was more like there with the advice, with the strategy, and all of that. So while we were building Gems, he was there.
Okay, so you've always been working together,
Yeah,
even
we've
from
always
the
been working
very get
together.
go.
But
Okay,
when we were trying to actually solve critical problems and create real time impact, I needed a I needed a co-founder
yeah,
who would help me with
put some
the
structure into it and do
structure,
something that
strategy,
after. Okay, good.
people, someone I would brainstorm with and go to the drawing board anytime and then come up with answers or response that would affect society in a sense. And then Century came in. He fit into that perfect picture of the kind of co-founder I would want to for the organization.
So you've been working with this person for a while. You guys have been co-building together this organization. So I just want to quickly, before I delve into that conversation, like, what do you think is important to any founder, any social impact leader who is trying to? Because I think one of the very difficult things to actually find in this our part of the world is partnership. People that you can collaborate together, people that you can co-build together. Because you might have the same ideas around what you should be doing, but that doesn't necessarily your vision might the goal the outcome might, but the pathway to that might be different. So what do you think is the most important thing for you in terms of building that partnership together to as co-founders to work together collectively, and then are you do you think that what worked, what's like your biggest?
For me, right, I believe that impact, right, can be measured, is structured. And for Century, he fit into that particular description of what I wanted as a co-founder. Number one, he's a strategic person. He thinks strategically, right? He understands how to conceptualize visions, and just from visions to reality beyond just the talk is someone who takes action immediately. So in finding the right person, right, beyond just understanding the vision and mission of the organization, is a long term. How does the person see a long term for, right? For some persons, they try to see your own long term without having theirs. But seeing that ours corroborates, right? We think alike. We see the same future that we dream for Nigeria. When we're talking about solutions, he has the same idea of what solutions is as well. So I think we have the same reasoning in a sense. We think alike, we build together, and we have the same long term vision. So it wasn't a very difficult puzzle for me to fix. So for me, I'm more of the operations path, right? While my co-founder is more of the strategy
Strategy
path,
person,
right?
yes.
So you can imagine strategy versus operations, merging them together.
That's way
That
super
combo.
super. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
So
way super.
find that niche, right? And find a partner that complements that part of you, right? So it strengthens your weakness and it's vice versa in a sense.
Absolutely, there's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. So my other question. So I know that as social impact leaders, I mean, it's very easy that you're turning because I'm pretty much interested in thinking about turning passion into purpose. Like you want to it's something you are doing, energy that started because you want to make the world a better place, want to make your community a better place, but then you it becomes a purpose. The moment you begin to build an organization out of it, you want to now do it as your life work, and then you want to focus on it 100% and build from it. And I think that my next question is to basically think about, if you think about your journey and what you've been doing, what would you think are your top three things that you knew that you wish that you knew straight off in maybe 5 years ago, I don't know, or early on, or that you thinking back now, you think that the progress that your organization has made, maybe you would have been better off or things could have been done differently. But what are those three things?
So as social impact leaders, when I started, I just felt like, oh, I just want to make the world a better place. And I felt like one action from me could just change the world. But I never knew that to create a pattern, right, behaviors needs to change, right? And if you don't understand how to infuse behaviors or use the behavioral change approach in programs and projects, you might end up doing or recycling projects without creating the real impact. And for us at Do, right, our core is saying how we can create real impact in communities. That is why we have every project or programs we design, right, we have a behavioral change tune and human-centered design to them. For example, one of our projects on education, climate change, good governance, these are some of the projects we run, right? We know that for us to actually effect changes in these areas or approaches, right, we need to see what makes people take action. How can we build this critical mass of people who will do the right thing? And we created different incentives, project programs, processes that would want to make people take action. Now, one of those ways is we know that humans are very dynamic, right? And for you to make them take action is one of the hardest way. So we had to design 4 ways everyone can take action. So regardless of who you are, how you fit into society, right, there is always a way you can take action in your community. So for us at Do, these 4 parts, one includes people designing projects, community impact projects. So we design community impact projects, right? And then people, regardless of where you are in Nigeria or Africa, you can come to our platforms and choose the community impact projects you want to do. Now, if you don't want to do any community impact project, you can take action by speaking up. So we call that speak up. So speak up represents you talking about the issues, creating more awareness about the issues via your social media platform. So from the comfort zone of your house or your sitting room or your office, you can tweet, right? You can make a post about what's happening in the education sector, the climate change
Advice.
sector, Now, if you want to take action by driving a community impact project or speaking up, as a creative, right, you can create an influence for social change. I remember then that was during the election period when Files the bad guy, right? He said this Mr. Yakubu song on Twitter, and we
Yeah, I
had
think I remember
millions
that.
of young
People
persons,
picking it up and
picking up. And I always say, right, those young persons who pick up that challenge, right, before they even say something about that song, right, they must have to research about Nigerians, democracy, elections, and so they're in a way getting more aware about the issue, and that's the way they are taking action. So as creators, influencers, you can use your platform to talk about the issues and create more awareness about the issues. Now, this is the third way. And the last one is donate. You can give, right?
use your resource
So,
system.
exactly. So, if you can't drive a community impact project, you can't advocate or speak up, you can't create an influence, then you can give. So, every young person, regardless of where you are, your status quo, you can contribute to solving Africans' problem.
Absolutely, I think that's a very simple a way to operationalize the concept of taking action,
Yeah.
doing something that you can, and in different layers. And there's no way, if you're really serious about doing something,
Yeah.
you can actually find a way within those four streams or 4 ways to do something
Yeah.
to make your community better, to make the world better. And I think that's the whole concept of it. People becoming builders, leaders of their own. It's not just like, oh, no matter what, I want to be a problem solver. I want to
Yeah.
be a solution provider. And then in doing so, how can I do that? Okay, I have money. Okay, I'll just give my money. Okay, no, I don't have money, but I have time. I
Yeah.
can drive a community impact project. Oh, but I don't really have that time either. But I can speak up. I can use my space or my platform, wherever it is that you control, to make that thing happen. And then lastly, you talk about creating, influencing through
Yeah.
creative ways. I mean, I think those are really very brilliant words.
You know?
Well, then, that's why I must have imagined the amount of time to process that and then to operationalize that into something that is actionable. That's really good. And I think that it speaks well into
Yeah.
the content of what you're thinking about. So let me come back into our conversation around your journey as a social entrepreneur, as a builder. And I think that when we speak to people about, oh yes, it's really tough to build, it's really difficult to build, but people are building still. Businesses are folding up every single
Definitely.
day, but people are registering new businesses every day, every single day as well. So it's not enough. But the concept of like we're living in this part of the world where everything is a challenge. You have to put in 3, 4, 5 times more work to get anything serious done. So I just wanted to ask to think about your work and your journey as an organization and as a person as well. What do you think is your moment of validation? Like, at what point do you think that okay, I've had education, I've been doing this. I went overseas to go. I've got a master's in the UK. I have this opportunity to have this, but then I still want to come back and continue to do this. I mean, there has to be a path forward, and something must be done. So, at what point did you have that moment of validation that you felt like I'm gonna do this is my work now. This is my life. This is my professional life. Is take action and making sure that I use my platform, my resources, my energy, my education, my time to build an organization that will solve this problem within the social space. Um, and then how does this happen?
Okay.
So it's two space.
Yeah.
What was that moment of validation? At what point do you know that this is a goal? This is definitely a pathway forward, and I will
Yeah.
continue to do that. And how did it happen?
So, in 2018, when we finally rebranded and we had this bigger vision, right, of building Do, right, I asked myself, beyond just inspiring people to take action, which is the hardest path, how can we operationalize this, right? So I started with taking action myself. I would say I'm the first person who took action, in my organization, and I tried to replicate what I have done, right? And the moment of validation for me was in 2021, yes, when I just got back from the UK after my master's. Now, while I was in the UK, I was trying to see how we can build our structure to ensure that it's data driven, right? And people can find it very easy to take action because that is the hallmark of what we do at Do, right? It was very difficult, right? But while I was there, I was building with my co founder. And the moment of validation for me was in 2021, where we had over 500 persons take action, right,
Wow.
from our platform. Yes,
So you do, but when you mean platform, you mean like there's this website, like a
yes,
community, an action
yes.
platform
So
where
we
people can pick.
built. So at the core of Do, right, we are tech enabled. We call ourselves that's why we call ourselves a civic startup, right? We solve problems using technology. So we build a platform, right, where we can connect young persons to take actions via our platform. So first thing we did was we created a data bank, right, where we uploaded over 86 projects we have designed. Now, this project we have designed comes with the monitoring evaluation form, the pre and post evaluation, the project report design, everything. Need assessment of each project. So imagine designing 86 projects, right, from the back end. Now, we upload all of these things to our platform where people around Nigeria would go on our platform and look at the 4 issues they want to take action on and just click and then um, just with one click, you have all the toolkits
Resources you need.
resources in your email. And then there's a immediate follow up from our team members. And that was the structure we built on the ground. And today, right, no, in 2021, rather, we had 500 people take action without going to their place. Remember, the initial model was, oh, we travel to Jigawa or Bayelsa to take action. Remember, opportunity costs, right? But now, from the comfort zone of Do headquarters, we have mobilized, we've inspired 500 people to take action in 2021. So that was a validation process for me, right? Like, say, this model is working. Even though it's new, it's novel, but people now are getting to understand the process, how they can take action in their community. And voila, we're here. Today, we have over 3,000 people on our data bank. Now, the issues in the social development space, data is a big issue. We can't categorically tell how much impact we're making beyond assumption. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, for us, that is what is making us very unique and novel with our approaches. We have data to back all actions that we are doing. I'm very proud to say these 3,000 people in our database never started without anything. They saw what has happened in the past, they saw the pattern, and now they're taking action in their
Absolutely,
community.
yeah. So my other question is always thinking about, because this show is intentionally targeted at people who are interested in building stuff. So I want to, the series is actually talk about meet the founders. So the idea is to bring in people to talk about their journey and what they're learning and how they've been able to get things done, even though it's very tough, right? So my question would be like, in terms of like reflecting on your journey so far and what I mean, it's still a process. No, it's not finished yet. You're still there.
Yeah.
But for upcoming people that are trying to build, that are hungry at problems, but they want to turn that passion into purpose. And then, what do you think that are three insights for emerging entrepreneurs, future entrepreneurs, in any case? Like, what are your like insight? What do you think that is important for people to know?
Okay.
Maybe you have spoken about it, but I think let's just and quickly just think about it. And what are the three insights that you would like to share? What that is you think that if you know this, if you can do that, if you observe this way, your journey can be faster. You can do your validation quickly. You can move your product into a proof of concept faster. You can get funding quicker. Just I know there's a lot of a lot of insights, but what would be your top three?
Yeah, for me, the top three would be knowledge, right? Build your knowledge bank, right? If I had known that we have different unique ways people can actually build a social enterprise that would solve real time problem, right? I would not go through the hassle of starting gems and all of those things, right? If I had known. So as a founder, know your niche very well. If you want to solve problems around the educational sector, understand what the particular problem is. You can't solve the whole problem around education. It could be trying to improve the out of school the children in Nigeria, or it could be trying to breach the teacher quality learning. It could be quality education. So, what niche do you want to build on? Now, understand your niche. So, this is one thing. If I had known earlier, I would have built that niche for myself and start causing critical change. Now, the second part is data, right? Everyone knows me as a data lady. I'm big on data, right? Now, the role data play in building a startup or a civic startup or a business is one, it makes you understand what the future looks like for you, right? It paints the real problem for you as well. So most founders, think they are solving problems, but they don't know that they are solving problems that has already been solved. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs reinventing the wheels, and I'm not a fan of that, right?
I mean, I think it's just all about also like innovating. I think maybe that's what you're getting at into. Is the problem remains the same. I mean, I was just having a conversation earlier this morning with someone who says that he was reading the some newspaper headline from like 1975,
Yeah,
19 like very old times, and then it was still the same thing about fraud scarcity,
yeah.
strike. Problem will always be problem, regardless of what time. But I think the differentiator here is about innovating around how we solve the
And you
problem.
can't
I mean,
innovate if you don't
bring
have real data,
data, yeah. I mean,
right?
data plays a lot of weight in it. It's about
Exactly.
understanding what the problem is and how you can do the same thing but in a different way, that you can do it more efficiently, effectively, and you can achieve results faster, and then you can achieve impact more. But I think innovation is the word, yeah.
Yeah, and the last part is collaborate, don't compete.
Tell me that,
Right,
yeah.
yeah. So you because in the end we all want to solve that problem. So if A wants to solve education, B wants to solve education, why not just collaborate and
I'm really, really, really big on this thing around collaboration. I mean, I run a social impact space, so my primary goal is to connect people. But I've been able to see that it's very difficult to actually make connections happen. People respond more to stuff. They don't really want to collaborate. They think that they're exposing their unique niche. I mean, everybody just, it's very tough. It's not, you would expect people to jump at an opportunity to work
yeah.
together, but it's really interesting that people don't. And even in the donors are actually if you want to do a grant now, like it's easier when you have 3, 4, 5 organizations working together. You are more likely to get something than when they want to give you as a single, because you want to spread the risk around. You want to also benefit from the collective expertise of all the people working on it. But that is the ideal, right? But if you think about our society, we are at the very core of our culture. is this idea of one person wanted to hold, you want one person to be
Yeah.
celebrated. We're in it's about competition. I want to be the only person, and we're always like, oh, this is the only 10,000, 100 best young entrepreneurs or 100 best innovators. So you feel like you want to, the idea of success in many of our leaders and entrepreneurs and makers is, I want to be the only one doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that I can stand out. But I think that that needs to change in terms of, can we become more understanding that when you work together, like the concept of co-founders was not popular before. People don't
Yeah.
like, everybody want to be the only person,
Founders,
the
CEOs.
CEOs. I want to be the leader. But now I was one of organization that I follow very well. I used to be on the board in Nigeria, and then the founder of the global team decided to do the concept of co-CEOs. He has three other persons. The organization is called Accountability Lab, and they were experimenting with it. They wanted to have co-CEOs instead of having just one global CEO, and then they spread the cause. And you can see where you're running something from a place of shared power,
Yeah.
and then everybody has the uniqueness, so you can still get the result of what you're getting out of it as an individual.
When you asked the earlier question, what things I was learning, right? One of the
Yeah.
things I was learning, it's very, very, very difficult to say, but if I had known, right, I would not have started my organization when I had started it. I'd have worked for people. Yes.
Purchase. Okay, tell me more about
You
it.
know,
I think that's
yes.
important.
When I see young persons come to me, like, you know what, I want to start an NGO. I'm like, oh God, we have thousands of NGOs in Nigeria. Do we still need more?
I mean, I don't even think
Know?
that I don't think that the numbers is the problem. Is the strategy. So, like you're saying,
Number one is the problem. Let's call it spade a spade. Is the problem.
but there are a lot of non-profit that are just there on paper. They're not really doing anything. Really.
Exactly. So it's a problem because if you have an idea, you want to solve problem. When you see a young person in the company and say, you know what, I want to help, I want to solve problems. Now, if you want to solve problem, go and look for people who are trying to solve the same problem as you are,
Yeah.
and work with them. It starts there.
Yeah,
You understand me? And
absolutely.
because it also makes the validity for authenticity very rare and scarce.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think for me, I like the idea of, if I reflect as well, I have been in that situation in the
Yeah.
past as well that I wished, and I did consider that at some point to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is actually is a very good strategy,
Mm-hmm.
because when you start your career as a social impact leader, and then you have passion, you have education.
It's not enough.
It's not so. When you
Trust me.
work for other people, that's
You
when you
learn.
have validation.
Yes.
You have network. You have relationships. But you are getting those relationships
And you
from
build
other people's
depth as
branch.
well. You
Yeah,
build depth.
exactly. So you
But
do
now
all
you're
of
using
that.
your organization to learn.
But when you come back to start something, even after all of that, you feel like, oh, maybe you've done work 5 to 10 years working for other people. You've had the relationships, yeah, and then we want to do something on your own. You're not starting new.
No.
The level at which you just start is you're not any different. Which is also what I try to talk to people about. Like, it's not any different from someone that started 10 years ago.
No.
You've worked for somebody 10 years, and then you are starting now. And somebody that started 10 years ago, you might actually even be better off when in your year one than they will be in their year 10.
Very
Because
true.
you're building into that your own year one. 10 years of experience, 10 years of relationship, 10 years of working for other people, 10 years of, if you're actually like a builder, even while you're working for other people, you're building inside out. You're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You are just doing for working for paycheck.
No.
There's passion. You're driven by the work. You're the one. Maybe I know a couple of people that they are the lifeblood of the organizations. Like they bring in the most
And they are
money.
not the CEO.
They are not the owner in any
They're not
way.
the co-founders.
In any way, they're just
They're not even
employees.
the founders.
They will end up. I had a
Exactly.
conversation recently with someone that is in that situation. I said, I am now beginning to think. I never thought I would be in a situation to find one. In short, there was one. There was a workshop I attended a couple of weeks ago, and then they brought in uh, uh, budget,
Okay.
the country director for budget.
Budget.
And then he was saying, and the one part of the person, the other asked the question, why didn't you found an organization? The guy answered, no, I am not a founder. The skill set required to find and run an organization is different from the skill set. I am a better person. I'm an operation person. I'm an insider. He was saying that he had in his computer a old plan that he had about 10, 15 years ago to start something, but he knew that if he had started, he would have probably been frustrated. But he enjoys build that. Meanwhile, most of the founder itself is very good at starting strategy,
Starting.
but it's the brain behind the operation. The whole idea of budget being all in a couple of African countries today was his brainchild. So he's building within, is creating value, and is happy to do it. And so there are a lot of people that will be better leaders, better achievers, better contributors inside out,
That's one thing about
without the
leadership.
leadership.
You
Yeah.
know, I always say this thing, right? Leadership is multidimensional,
Yeah.
right? You can lead in front, you can lead behind, or you can lead in the middle. But regardless of where you find yourself, just do your best.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
if we understand this idea of leadership, right, we would not be in that haste to start up something without understanding what the makeup of what it means to run that thing till the end
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, that's
and
that's
even
the
create
truth.
results.
What do you think are the top three challenges that you had when you started off, and then what were the ideas of the ways at which you were able to deal with them or manage them better?
Yeah, so one of the key challenge I faced was trying to build my team members to see the way
Okay.
I see.
Say that again. Say that again.
You
Yeah.
know, coming from my background and my wealth of experience, right, in the social sector and development space, you know, I had gotten lots of skill sets. And you know, when you're working with a team, right, you see very unique people that want to test, you know, test your capacity as a leader, and trying to build or make them see what you see was quite challenging, given the fact that our approach to solving problems was quite different. They were very used to the NGO in quotes, you know, method of taking action, you know, traveling for projects, doing all of these things for projects and all of those things to building and working with people to take action on issues they care about
Yeah.
in
Being behind the
communities.
scene and working from the background and
Yeah,
then
so it was
find.
quite challenging for me. And it took I think it took years, right, before I could build my team to start seeing the way I see. That was one challenge. And why I was able to even do that was I got people who were dedicated, people who had the same passion, but never knew how to, you know, direct their passion. So it was very easy to harness that passion and teach them, right? I always tell my team, like, you don't have any excuse. You know, when you go to my team and tell them some of my keywords, there is no excuse. You can always do it. So building your team to understand that you don't have any excuse for not delivering, right, was one that I was finally able to achieve among my team members. Now they understand how to achieve results at a fast pace, right? They understand how to use data to solve problems. They understand how to inspire people to take action. Trust me, you know how human beings are. It's very, very difficult to make human beings see the way you see things. And this is you trying to inspire 1 billion plus people. You can imagine how, when I say how difficult it can be. But today, my team members have been able to learn that. I was able to teach that or imbibe that skill to them. The second challenge I also faced as an organization was my ability to pitch or sell the vision. You know, it's very easy for you to tell people, oh, this is what you do. But when you're trying to sell this vision to people who will understand and it translates to funding, was quite a challenge for me,
Absolutely.
right? So I had to go back to the drawing board. I had my partner, right? So we had to now understand the key defining factor of our methods, right? What do people want to know about do? How do you operate? So when I was able to, you know, find that unique selling point for us as an organization, it became very
You
easy.
do use like a business model canvas in that process?
Oh, of course, of
That's
course.
very useful
So
too.
yeah, so we had to use our business model canvas, you know, the strength, weakness, you know, opportunity cost, and the threats. You know, that also played a very key role in helping us define those unique selling points for Do as an organization. We did that, and also we had some lot of templates. And you know, one thing about our work is that it's relatively not new in a sense. We have a lot of templates, a lot of resources out there that if you don't want to relax and read, you would not learn, right?
Absolutely.
So I gave myself a lot of research. So as young people who wants to build a startup, who wants to build a business, you can't do without research. Try to learn what other people are doing and the innovative ways you can remodel those solutions to fit your unique environment in a sense. So I think these are some of the things I did rightly, One, build my strong team, understand how best to research and ask the right questions to get the right responses to solve my immediate problems.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That
Yeah.
brings me to my next question, which is to think about, you know, people think building is easy. It's a tough journey. Like it's a very difficult one, but it's also beautiful because when you succeed, you just embrace it, and it's really beautiful to see how much of your labor is getting rewarded. So my question, I'm really big on this because I know that how you handle things like challenges and insight, it determines how far you can go and how you are built up as a leader. And I think that so my question has to do with rejection. You know that if you work in this space, you know what it means,
This
that
face,
and whether you are
this
being
question.
rejected at the individual level for an application that you're making as a
Oh,
person, or for your organization, and you have so much hopes and so much desire, because it's very easy to think that, it's like when you're building stuff,
yeah.
you see the problem, and you know how in your mind, in our minds, I should say, we can see how getting this money can help us achieve this much. And then the people that are providing the resources are not necessarily having the same understanding, or are not convinced yet, or there's just too many competition, and then
Yeah.
it's just really difficult. So it's devastating. So my question is, how do you handle your first rejection? And what can you what's the highlight of this stage in your development as a
Yeah.
person? You can answer it both ways, or just from one way. You can speak from your organization point of view. You can also speak from your
Individual.
individual, because I know that you're a traveling scholar, so I know that you must have applied to get a scholarship.
that, that,
And then
that,
and
that,
then and
that,
then I don't
that.
think that I'm not sure, I might be wrong, but it's possible that that was your first application. But I'm assuming that that probably will not be the first one. But even if that was the first one and you got it, and then there might be other rejections anyways in other places.
Yes,
So
right.
tell us, how does it feel
Okay.
like?
Rejection, is it right? You know, um, I'll start from the personal individual point of view about how I see rejection. You know, with just my short shaving story. At the time, I was this young individual who wants to cause change, and I knew that shaving was one of those routes that would help me facilitate my journey in the social space. And I applied. I never knew that I would be rejected. I gave it my best, wrote the best stories about my impact journey, the progress I've made so far. And then it came back to be a love story. So we call it rejection. I wept actually. And trust me, if you're rejected, please feel free to cry. It's okay to
Yeah,
cry.
absolutely, absolutely. I think
My first approach was tears. I cried. And after crying, I had to go back to see what went wrong. Rejection is not a funny place to be. And till tomorrow, I still feel that's hit. But what happens when you get rejected is what matters the most. I tell
absolutely.
persons, and how to prepare for rejection. Don't get me wrong. We all want to win, but it's okay to prepare for rejection, because in preparing for rejection, you understand what winning means. Yes. So when I got rejected from sharing, it really affected me. How my self-esteem. I start questioning a lot of things I believe, what I think I know at the time. It was not a good place for me at the time, I must say. But I was very happy with the people I surrounded myself with, especially my team members, my co-founder today, who told me a different dimension to rejection and how to prepare for it. He told me the reason why you felt so much pain is because you felt sharing was your yes
Only.
and amen, was your all in all. But when you build something beyond sharing or beyond that big picture, you have a soft landing. And that was why when I was applying again, right, I had to build myself. I had to build my core rather, right? And I was prepared for that rejection. I knew that even if I was rejected, I have something to fall back to. I am building a startup. I'm building something that would stand the test of time, which was do. So I had to channel my energy, my creativity, not just to sharing alone, but to building my core. So when you build your core, right, as a founder or as an individual, it actually plays a long role to how you absorb rejection. That was my first rejection, though. Now, having that mindset as to how to channel my energies to rejection now played a critical role to how we saw rejection as an organization. Now, when we started to do, right, in 2018, we applied for a lot of fundings, and the first one I was very sure was a US Embassy grant. I was very sure that was going to scale, you know, and then it came with a no. I was like, okay, Precious, remember what you learned from Chevening, right? This is not your core. What is your core? How can you start implementing this particular project you think is worthy, you think is going to create ripple impact in the community? So I started building that. So when I got that rejection, it didn't really hurt us as an organization, even though we felt it. We channeled that hurt to ensuring that we build that project from just ideation to real time. So it helped us, gauge that shock for us as an organization. Now, backtrack from 2018 till 2021, we had not won any grants. But because we believed that what we are building, right, is
Long journey.
the long term, we did not let our rejection define us as an organization. We kept building, we kept pouring in, we kept pushing. And today, we are very proud to work with a lot of multinational organizations as an organization. And we saw our today, yesterday. So seeing your today, yesterday plays a critical role in how you also accept rejection. If you understand, if you've done your validation as an organization, as an individual, you know that what you're building will stand the test of time. You know it's going to cause change in communities. Continue doing it. Continue using different approaches. Because when those founders, they will come and find you. And they did. They will always see that unique approach to how you solve problems, and they'll come for you.
So how does it feel like the very first time you actually did got accepted the company? What's the story behind it? How do you handle it? I mean, it's like the very moment, I mean, simply different from validation, but just like, okay, you did apply for something, you wanted it, and then maybe, I don't know, how was that?
Man, I was so excited. I was really excited. I felt like, oh my God, I've I've gotten that strides I need to excel in my endeavor, my career, everything.
The joy and the thrill of being successful or getting validation and all of that. So my next question is just to quickly just talk about. I'm diverging a little bit for the last two questions. So I'm just going to think about it in a different way. I know we are living in Nigeria, and as Nigerians, we are passionate. We can't talk about working in the development space without being passionate about our country, because we have made a choice to be part of a process that make the world a better place, that make our communities a better place. But in doing that, we're also concerned about why are we not even why do we have to even do what we're doing in the first place, because of certain reasons. Leadership is one of them. So what are your thoughts around Nigeria and the role of leaders, young people as leaders and as responsible citizens?
I would say young people who want to learn that path we are doing currently, how can we replicate ourselves in them? That's where we want to start first. Because if we believe that what we're doing as leaders is the right thing, for example, what I'm currently doing in terms of problems in communities is right? How can I get a mini version of me in communities? People who see how I see, through the lens I see, who solve problems through the way I do, right? That way, it makes the world a better place because you're recreating yourself in people. And then the more you get people who think like you, who do what you do in the right way, we get a lot of people, change makers across society. So the question is, how do we effectively translate or transfer what we're learning, what the approaches we're taking to our communities in a sense, people who want to be like us. Now, Nigeria as a whole, right, we really see leadership as how much we get or how much influence we are getting, which is a wrong way to see leadership. Leadership is should be seen as how much of the problems we are solving. That is for me leadership. If you're not contributing to solving the problems in communities in your country, then you're not leading. For me, that's what I think.
And I think that also answers the question of responsible citizenship. So, but that's why I didn't just say as citizens. I
Yeah.
put the word responsible citizens, because I think that it's one of the same. If you're a responsible citizen, you're already a leader in one way. So it's about
Exactly.
how are you consciously contributing to making your community, to making
A better
your
place.
place, your society a better place. And in doing so, how are you showing that you're not contributing? And even if you're not contributing, how are you not making sure, yeah, you are intentionally not contributing to the problems as well. My final question. I always ask this question because I think that this question, I don't know what I try to achieve with it, but I think it just gives me a way to just feel around the idea that I know that. So I'll put a little bit of a background to that question so that you can know, or you can answer it in the way I probably think it may be able to. So the idea is very simple. Like you are here, you don't have to do what you're doing. It's a choice. You call a lot of young people are jackpot, they're moving to
Yeah.
the. I mean, especially for people like you that you travel all the time, you could choose to not come back to Nigeria and build and whatever you're trying to build in a different country and then leave Nigeria with its problem, like many people are doing, but you haven't. And then, but again, there's opportunity cost for doing so. Like you're here, you're building here, you're
Yeah.
dealing with these problems and all that. There's a lot of attached sacrifice that you're making to make that happen, which is in itself is a good thing and can also be a bad thing. That's the, it depends on how you look at it. So, but my question is Nigeria worth it? Is this effort
You know,
worth it?
one thing I certainly know is that Nigerians change will happen, right? And in that time, there were less deliberations and more reforms, more actions taken. And when that time also comes, I want to be part of those people who roll their sleeves up and we're part of the solutions. So yes, it's worth it, right? The work I do currently is worth it. I always tell people around me that, in the next 50 years, the Nigeria you see will be built by people like me who never backed down or who never
Give up?
gave up on the system.
Who had faith?
Yeah.
Who believe
Could
it
call
will?
it faith
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, it is
I
faith
believe
to
it's going to
choose to be.
happen.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why I'm doing what I'm doing currently. Like you said, I had lots of opportunities to remain back in the UK. Right after my studies, while I was in the UK, I worked with the Commonwealth, right? I worked with the Wales government as well. I worked with a lot of multinational organizations and they were willing to retain me, you know. But then I knew that the reason why I traveled was to build the capacity, right, to come and influence my country. That's what I said, right? And me chickening out to just for my self gratification was not the kind of Nigerian I want to be, right? I want to be the kind of Nigeria who, I believe we just celebrate our democracy, right? And we mentioned some key names, right, of people who fought for democracy. What would I be mentioned for, right, when that change
Is
comes
democracy
finally?
working in Nigeria though?
Well, that is so for another day.
Okay, okay,
I will talk
okay,
about that
okay,
later, but
okay.
that
But
is
I
so for
mean,
another
yeah, I do
day.
appreciate the
But
other
then I knew that
story.
Nigeria would change. I know that the reforms that we'll seek would happen one day. And my name's Precious Ebere would be engraved in the sign of times as people, young
I
Nigerians.
like that audacity,
Yes.
that boldness. Yeah, that's true.
Young Nigerians who fought to make it happen through what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. That's the thing. Thank you very much. I really do. I
Thank you
do.
very much.
I don't disagree with you. I do. I stand on the same spot with you when on that. On that note, thank you very much, Precious, for taking the time again
Thank you
to
so
share your
much.
expertise, to share your journey, to share
Yeah.
insight with your community. And then it's really a pleasure to have you. And thank you to keep doing what you're doing. Keep building. Keep. I'm sure in 10, 20, 15, 20, 30 years, we can always look back to this day and wonder, okay, it was worth it. It's always
Yes.
rewarded, and then it's always. So thank you for your time, and
Thank you
then
very
thank you.
much.